Hey folks, so quick follow-up here. I said at the end of the last video that we were going to address the header issue in class. And on closer inspection, I realized that I was actually farther off my mark than I originally realized. If we look at the output from the script that I've written here, you'll see actually that I have more of a problem than just a mismatch of my header row. So I'm going to really quickly open this up and look at my data, the output data that I created, my regex data, and see what's going on. So now that I look at it more closely, I notice that there's actually, it seems to be that there's not one header missing, but two headers missing, which tells me that there's something else going wrong in the data. And as I look at it more closely, I realize that it's not that I've left something out, it's actually that I have written something twice. So end station name, the way that I've structured this, has actually ended up getting written twice in the file rather than just once. So I need to go back and look at the logic of my script and see where I may have gone wrong. And if I do that, obviously the place that I want to be looking isn't here, because this is in this area, because this is where I'm building my row. And so if I look carefully, what I see is I say, okay, if the column, if I'm at the end station name column, then I want to do all this stuff. And what I did was I said, append the column value here and also append the column value here. Now, the reason why that's an issue is because I don't have an else here. And what that means is that what it's saying is when it gets to the end station name column, it's saying, okay, I'm going to do all this. And you're right, you told me to add the column name. I'll do that, no problem. And then I'll add this. And because this is not an else, even if I'm an end station name, right, it's going to actually append the column value again. So that's why I'm getting that sandwich. I'm getting my true false sandwich between end station name twice. Now, there are any number of ways that I could solve this. One way that I could solve this would be to simply, I could probably just move this, right, up here. I'm going to try this out, right? And so basically, yeah, I think that's actually the thing to do. And so basically what I'm doing here is I'm saying, look, whatever column I'm on, first add that value, because I want my true false to appear after end station name anyway. So what I can do is just say, you know what, append that column value. And then, by the way, if the current column value or column name is end station name, add this extra thing, right? So this isn't going to fix my header problem, but it should fix my duplicate entry problem. So I'm going to run this and see where I end up, and then we're going to talk about dealing with the headers. So here I am. I'm going to run my data again. I'm going to close my data file. Okay, so let's check our new data file and see how we did. So if this is an improvement, then I shouldn't have a double of end station name. And this does look better because it looks like I'm just off by one, which is what I expect, right? Because again, I used the original headers and didn't add a new header for my sort of true false entry here. So now that I feel pretty confident that I'm only one header off, right, and that the data is functionally correct, how am I going to change those headers? Well, there's any number of ways that you could do this. I consider this sort of a cheating way. Well, it's not a cheating way, but I don't know. It's there's no non-manual way to do this, is what I would say, or no efficient non-manual way to do this. So the way that I like to do it is I just create a print statement. I could go into my data and copy out the names, the column headers from there, right? I actually could have done that out of my Excel file, but I don't really know how that's going to turn up if I try to paste it into my Python file. So what I prefer to do is actually to run a version of the script where I print out the existing field names, and then I can just copy and paste them into my file and manually add in that West Street one. So I could transcribe them all manually, but that sounds like a pain to me. So instead I'm going to try to just use a run of my script to help me out. So here I can actually just highlight this with a mouse, regular Control-C copy, and I'm going to, instead of using that field names, I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in. And of course, now I can see in here, this is just a list. And right after end station name, I'm just going to add an entry that says has West Street, right? And that's it. There's no magic about it. Again, I can now get rid of this print statement, right? Because that was just sort of for the purposes of seeing what was going on. And come back to my terminal window. I have in fact finished. So, whoops, I'm going to now rerun my script, right? Because I just did that last one to get those headers printed out. And I'm going to check one more time and see if my headers and my data line up. Make sure that I don't have any duplicate values. But again, really this just goes to show you that, you know, even if you think you know what you're doing, you really have to inspect your results and make sure that they conform to your expectations. And if they don't, it's time to start trying to figure out what's going on. And as I said, there's a number of ways that I could have handled that. I could have also added an else statement. And again, we can go over some of the options in class. But again, it's, you know, the point is, can we get it to work? Can we get it to produce what we need? And, you know, the new version that I have is a little bit cleaner, so I like that, right? It's fewer lines of code. But to be honest, as I said, the times that the number of lines of code in your program are going to make a difference, and a significant difference in your output that's pretty unusual. So now this looks much better, right? I see something that looks relatively sensible, right? Again, Excel formatting is kind of screwing up the presentation of my dates, my start and stop times here, but other things look sensible, right? And by the way, it looks like my regular expression has worked. So I wouldn't recommend running the regular expression for the first time in Python. As always, I would recommend testing it out first in OpenRefine to make sure it has basically what you're looking for. And in this case, it does seem that I've captured what I wanted. I'm getting West Street, even in the case of like Little West Street. And I'm also getting it in both orders. So that concludes our discussion, our sort of introduction to parsing CSVs with Python and applying regular expressions there. And I look forward to seeing you all and discussing this more in class.